Today we're interviewing Dr. Tom Hart, who's been a longtime member of the faculty. Tom, tell us about your coming here and what are some of the highlights of your professional career before you were a professor at FSU.
What I wanted to highlight is the opportunities I found in my lifetime for leadership. This is one of the things we really try to emphasize at this college. I began as an elementary ed teacher from Ball State Teachers College, and my first job was in a junior high school because in Indiana you were certified pre-K, or it was K back then, through 8th grade. And our junior high school had 7th and 8th grade and 9th grade at that time, so I could teach 7th or 8th graders. But I also had a library science minor as my undergraduate, so I also ran a library that had never had a librarian before at this junior high school. And it was absolutely incredible because any little thing I did, everybody appreciated it immensely because I had nobody that was there before me. And so any little thing I would find, teachers just thought I was the most wonderful person on that faculty. And so I found early on, I found that there was this thermofax machine that could make copies, and it could make ditto masters and mimeograph masters. And ditto was the old purple sheets. Some of you are too young to know them, but might have had them in your younger years. And the mimeograph, of course, is the black on white. But it was hard to type any of those things. But if you could just take your original and run it through this machine and make a master, then you could crank these things out. So I was the technology god of Elwood Haynes Junior High School because I got him a thermofax machine. And so I used that then to help move me into, I'm just trying to show you what little things you can find that can make you the real person that is indispensable for that school. So I was able to help design a brand new junior high school, and I invited Carolyn Whitenack, who was the editor of the 1965 School Library Media Standards. And she had been involved in editing, I guess, that time. She actually edited the 69 ones. But she was a professor at Purdue University, and I invited her over for my PTA, our very first PTA meeting at Maple Crest Junior High School, the brand new junior high school in Kokomo, Indiana. And she was so impressed with our library there and what we were doing that 1 week later she called me and asked me if I would like to join the faculty at Purdue University. They had an opening in the youth area, young adult services and multimedia and all the things I like to do and teach. They had an opening for, and of course I couldn't resist having an opportunity to go to one of the major universities in our state. It was fabulous. I actually got my salary doubled. We were able to build a brand new house. We were able to do all kinds of wonderful things as well as associate with her because this was when the federal grants were actually flowing. And so I had this one chance to do this. Well, while I was there, I had an opportunity to go to Cleveland to Case Western Reserve University to finish out my coursework. I had done my master's there, but to finish out my coursework for a year, I was a half-time bookmobile librarian for the public library system, Cuyahoga County Public Library. I didn't get one of those fellowships that you got. In fact, I didn't apply for one, to be honest. But I had this opportunity to get this part-time job, which paid me enough. And my wife got a full-time job as a teacher in Cleveland. And we actually lived like kings and queens in Cleveland that year. We had a beautiful new apartment, and we could eat out anytime we wanted to. We were not poor college students working on that PhD because I had a very, very good job, and I loved it. I mean, working on the bookmobile at one of the best public library systems in the United States during the time when it had money beyond imagination. Was the most wonderful experience. I was also a part-time reference librarian at a branch library for the public library system too that year. But I also along the way got to be Jesse Shera's graduate assistant. And Jesse Shera was a great theoretician during the time of Shores and that period of time in the development of our whole library science background. So I had a chance to really be with the top people in our field, in multimedia as well as in library science. So when I finished my PhD, Ball State was starting a brand new master's program, kind of like South Carolina was earlier. And Ball State is a very interesting institution. Ball State University has the Ball Canning Jar family foundation. And they were a very, very wealthy family in the 1800s, and their foundation is a very large one. So Ball State is a state university with foundation money. So this was in early years before anybody had developed, other than Harvard and Yale and these kind of places, had big foundation money. So Ball State, money was no object starting this new master's program. We could bring in anybody we wanted to bring in. We designed beautiful facilities, and I spent a whole year just planning the program. There was another faculty member and I hired to design the courses, to go out and visit other places, and just get something really underway in a wonderful way. Well, of course, at that time we also had a lot of federal money. This was before the Vietnam War dried up our federal funds, and so we applied for a year-long institute where we had 15 people were paid to come and get their master's degrees. And then the following year in 68, 69, we had 30 people come to get their master's degree. But along with this came money to bring in speakers from all over the country. We had all the famous people that were in the field of library science coming to our program because of these funds. We also took field trips. Both programs took a 2-week field trip to visit libraries in the East, like to visit the Library of Congress, to visit the National Library of Medicine, to visit the big libraries of our nation, so we could actually see what was going on. And our students were actually participating in this. We also had, at that time, Frances Henny was the big name in school librarianship. And she was not able to come our first year. We invited her to be our final speaker, because these were mostly people who were going to be school media specialists in this master's program. Or actually they were going to become directors of school districts because of having this degree. So Frances was not able to come, but she said, you know, there's this girl down in Florida. Her name is Sarah Shrigley. Now, Bill is grinning here behind the camera because none of us who really knew Sarah would ever think of her as being a girl. But Frances Henny was Frances Henny's student. And so she only saw her as a student. She didn't see her as this mature person. So we invited Sarah, and Sarah became our final speaker of our speaker series of that first year. Well, she was so popular that, of course, we invited her back the next year, and then I had a summer institute following that year-long institute, and so we had her as the final speaker for that summer institute also. And somewhere along the way, we became very good friends, and they had an opening at Florida State, and so she got Dean Goldstein to call me once a month, and every month I'd get a call from Dean Goldstein. "We got this job down here, Tom Hart, and we'd sure like to have you come down and be on our faculty." I said, "Well, you know, I've got the biggest grants on this campus. I'm chairman of the Promotion Tenure Committee of the university, and I'm not even tenured yet. And I'm a very close personal friend of the president's wife and the president of Ball State University. Why would I want to leave?"